Hello, I'm Eve from the University of Pennsylvania's English Language Programs, and today we're talking about the Duolingo English Test, the DET. In this video, we're going to talk about the question type, read aloud. Here's our agenda. First, we'll take a look at an example of this type of question. Then we'll talk about what this question is looking for in a successful response. Next, we'll talk about tips and strategies for the read aloud type of question, both how to prepare and how to approach this question on the test. And finally, we'll practice. First, let's look at an example. This is what a read aloud question looks like on the DET. In the upper left-hand corner, you can see a timer. You, as the test taker, have just 20 seconds to complete this task. In the middle, in that larger font, you'll see the directions. They say, record yourself saying the statement below. And just below that, you'll see that statement in quotes. Finally, in the lower right-hand corner, you'll see a button. You'll click it when you're ready to start recording and then again when you're done. Now let's take a look at what this type of question is actually asking you to do. Let's start with the directions. Record yourself saying the statement below. So this is a reading and speaking task, and those relate to the subscores of comprehension and conversation. You do not get to hear the sentence first. So this type of question, the read aloud question, is looking for a few specific pronunciation features. For example, stress and pausing. Let's look at both stress and pausing and how to do that effectively for this type of question, the read aloud question. So stress as a pronunciation feature means that a sound is heavier. That means it could be louder or higher or longer. Sentence can be at the word level, but it can also be at the sentence level. Let's take a look at the word level first. In our example sentence, we can see the word certain. The word certain has two syllables, certain. One of these syllables is actually stronger than the other, and the stronger syllable is what we call stress. So let's listen. Certain, certain. Do you hear the stress? The stress is on the first syllable, certain. The second type of stress is sentence level stress. And in English, we tend to say words like nouns, verbs, and adjectives with greater importance because those are the words in the sentence that carry meaning. We tend to say words like articles, prepositions, or pronouns. We say those softer or faster because they're not as important. They don't carry the meaning in a sentence. So here's our example sentence. I want to be certain that they have understood me. You can see from the capitalization and the underlining that some words show stress. So knowledge of both word stress and sentence level stress are really important for the read aloud question type. Now we'll look at the importance of pausing for this type of question. If a speaker doesn't pause or pauses too often, it could sound robotic or unnatural. So listen to me say this example sentence with equal pausing. I want to be certain that they understood me. That doesn't sound very natural, right? Generally, speakers of English pause between what we call grammatical units. And a grammatical unit could be a prepositional phrase, like in the morning or next to the table. It could also be separated with a conjunction, like and, so, because, if, although, or that. Sometimes grammatical units are indicated with punctuation, like a comma. When you're reading and you see a comma, it's best to include a small pause. Our example sentence, unfortunately, we don't have any commas to help us, but we can see a place where a pause would be most effective. In other words, we can see two grammatical units. I want to be certain that they understood me. So that pause between that is where we would pause naturally between those two grammatical units. Now let's talk about ways to prepare for this type of question before the test. Practice listening to sentences in English and then repeating those sentences with the same stress and pausing. You can do this with podcasts, a television show, a movie, or even the news. Also, try using closed captioning so you can see the written form of the sentence while listening. Try using the voice-to-text abilities of your cell phone to check your pronunciation. Nowadays, most smartphones have the ability to convert your voice to written text. Doing this in English will help you see which words or sounds the phone is able to pick up and which words or sounds the phone keeps missing. So that can show you what to practice a little bit more. Practice pronunciation rules for the past tense and for plural nouns. For example, adding an ed to a verb can sound different depending on that verb. Consider these 3 examples: fixed, listened, decided. Fixed has a T sound, listened has a D sound, and decided takes on an extra syllable at the end. Even though the spelling of these 3 verbs is the same, adding ed, the sound is different. So studying these rules can help you with this type of question and others. Now, once you're on the test, here are a few tips and strategies to help with the read aloud question. Use the punctuation like commas and conjunctions like because, if, although, while. These can help you remember to pause. Yes, speed is good because you only have 20 seconds, but fast speech is not necessarily clear or natural sounding speech. The DET is looking for clear and natural and not who can say these words the fastest. Focus on the important words in a sentence like nouns, verbs, and adjectives. Those should have a heavier weight because they should be stressed. Similarly, try to say the smaller words like articles, prepositions, and pronouns a little softer and faster because they're less important to the meaning of the sentence. Also, read it exactly as it's written. Practice it once aloud before you record because you want to make sure you don't add any extra sounds. Like sometimes people might add like an ing sound to a verb that doesn't need it, or long pauses between words. The first time you read something, you might be focusing on what you're saying, but the second time you read something, you can focus on how you say it. These are just a few strategies to help. Now let's practice. Here are 2 practice sentences for the read aloud. First, think about where you should add the stress. Then think about where you might want to pause. Speaking of pausing, pause the video now so you can have time to work on these 2 sentences, and on the next slide, I'll read them aloud. Okay, I'm going to read them aloud with this stress and pausing. I do not live to eat, but eat to live. We have a couple of solutions for the issue. How'd you do? Did you add stress and pausing where I added stress and pausing? You can practice more with this type of question and other types of questions on the DET website. Thanks for checking out this video about the read aloud question type on the DET. You can find more videos like this on the Penn ELP YouTube channel.